have to do. I don't know if they have to change the trade rules, if they have to get her better play.
Let's be for real. Caitlan Clark didn't carry her team to win the national championships the first time or the second time. But yet there is this expectation that she's going to carry the entire women's WNBA. To the point where y'all are so bold to say the quiet part out loud. What you're saying is that you want white privilege, right? You want Caitlan Clark to be able to tap into privilege, expecting her to be treated for something that she did not earn. And this is for anyone entering the women's WNBA. You can be a great player during your time in college. That does not mean you can compete at the professional level. And instead of using this moment to encourage her to rise to the occasion, you expect the entire league to change the rules for one person because she can't compete. The women's WNBA should have always been flying first class. They should have always been considered for higher paying salaries, not because it's just the right thing to do, but also because they're good. And that was before Caitlan Clark, and that will be after Caitlan Clark.
Clark being guarded by Thomas, who takes it away. Here's Harris, and Clark's going to foul Harris. Will they call it a transition take foul? They will, and now Clark gets a T in addition. That is an unbelievably costly sequence from Caitlan Clark. Turns it over, then gives a transition take foul, and then a technical as well.
Here she just loses the handle. Alyssa Thomas able to come up with it. Takes the foul there, which you can't do. That's a big difference from college to the pros. There's no transition take in college. There is here in the W.
And then got a T afterwards as Bonner misses the free throw.
Do you think the T was warranted?
I couldn't tell what she said. She said one thing to Marcy Williams.
But did she say it to her, or did she sort of say it to the ether?
I don't know. Let's take a look. And
oh yeah, okay. Certainly deserved the technical.
I'd say warranted.
She was not saying it to the ether. She was saying it instead to the officials.
Crowd getting restless.
Caitlan Clark didn't actually break the women's college basketball scoring record, at least not when we thought she did. And the reason why reveals one of the NCAA's most disturbing secrets. You see, when Clark hit this shot against Michigan on February 15th to break Kelsey Plum's all-time NCAA women's scoring record, she wasn't actually breaking the real record, at least not according to her own coach. In fact, it wasn't until almost 2 weeks later, after a little discussed blowout win against Minnesota, that coach Lisa Blutter said this.
Tonight is the night of the real record.
But what does she mean by that? Well, before 1982, the NCAA didn't have Division I women's college basketball, but there was still women's college basketball being played. In fact, as far back as 1941, there were organized women's college athletics, but the NCAA had no interest in them. So in 1971, an organization called the Association for Intercollegiate Athletics for Women, or the AIAW, was formed to organize competitions and championships across dozens of sports, including basketball. In fact, the AIAW was ahead of its time in a lot of ways, including allowing athletes to transfer freely between schools, something the NCAA didn't allow until the transfer portal opened almost 40 years later. And at its peak, the AIAW had almost 1,000 member schools, including Kansas, which is where Lynette Woodard played. Now, Lynette played at KU from 1977 to 1981, just 1 year before the NCAA hosted its first ever D1 Women's College Basketball Championship. And in her 4 years, she scored 3,649 points, more than anyone not named Pete Maravich up until this year. But since she scored all those points in the AIAW, the NCAA doesn't recognize her record. In fact, the NCAA keeps all AIAW stats, championships, and All-Americans separate from its own, even though all the schools that were members of the AIAW became members of the NCAA. But that's about par for the course for an organization that openly opposed Title IX and only started promoting women's sports once another organization proved they were commercially viable. In any case, Caitlan Clark broke Lynette Woodard's record too on her way to becoming the best college basketball player in history. Just leave it to the NCAA to find some way to screw it up.
And you said that Caitlan is going to go through a learning curve. Mm-hmm. Some people were critical of you for saying that, but I don't know that it necessarily meant that you're not welcoming to her, right? I mean, how do you, I mean, it seems like you were just saying the reality is she's going to have a learning curve.
Yeah, you know, it's the new fans are really sensitive these days. You can't say anything. Yeah, you know, it's kind of like when you go from kindergarten or first grade, there's a learning adjustment. When you go from high school to college, there's a learning adjustment. You know, I don't think I said anything that wasn't factually correct. And like anything, greatness is going to translate. And she's proven that in every level. And I don't see it being any different in the WNBA.
Hey, good morning. It's Van Silk, Rock Bottom Sports. I'm still trying to figure out all these podcasts that's talking about Caitlan Clark and talking about how the Fever was robbed of the game last night against the Connecticut Suns. They wasn't robbed. First of all, in the last 29 seconds of the game, I mean, let's all be honest. Caitlan Clark can shoot the rock. So can a lot of other girls. But she's a defense liability. She has no defense at all. You know, she got a technical screaming at the ref. You know, the Fever is 0-4. Okay. They got, what they play 32 games a year? I guess they might win 4 games this year. But see, the problem is, again, I'm going to say this, white privilege and looking for the great white hope. And I'm not racist, but I'm going to bring this to your attention. When Colin Cohart said that they should have had an easier schedule for her. Well, who knew that the jackasses at Indiana would have drafted her first instead of getting an all-around player, which they didn't do. They wanted to go for Caitlan Clark, who they said draw people to the arena. And that's what they was thinking about. They wasn't thinking about winning no games. They didn't care whether they win or lose. It's about the money. The Fever is no way in contention of anything, and it's going to be like that for a couple of years. If you was a smart general manager for the Indiana Fever, you would have got an all-around player. Even Reese would have made a big difference to that team because she's an all-around player. She plays defense, she's offensive, she ain't trying to score a bunch of buckets, you know, and she get rebounds. Caitlan Clark, a lot of her stuff is garbage time. Game is already blown. Plays ain't going to get a rebound here. And I ain't taking nothing against her. You was good in college, but college doesn't result all the time until you're being great, especially in the WNBA with women. They play the game different. Now, I'm going to say this to all you nerds and goofballs with podcasts. Oh, she was robbed. No, she wasn't robbed. The game wasn't robbed. You just are a racist bastard. A lot of the fans that go to the games to see Caitlan Clark are not real fans. They just want to show their kids, see, she could do it, you can do it. That's the attitude. They're not there for the game. They're not there. They trust me when I tell you, because the WNBA bet on Caitlan Clark, it was a bad bet. You should have combined a lot of the rookies that came out in the draft. Like they always say, always bet on black. But I'm going to say this. And real serious talk. In about another 3 weeks, the Caitlan Clark phenomenon is going to die down because they're probably going to be 0-8 by then, maybe 1-8. Who knows? But we know her being a loser 2 times in the finals. She got rewarded for being a loser. She's losing here. And sooner or later, the coach is going to say, you know what? They're going to have to improve her defense. Because if you look at the clip that I'm getting ready to show you, the last minutes of this game here, she's on the bench. On the defensive end. She has no defense. She does the same thing that LeBron does. Just stand and let the player blow by you. The only time LeBron do great plays is when he sneak up behind you to block you from behind. You ain't never seen LeBron block nobody's shot face straight up. Never. He's a sneak attack. You know, hide behind the tree and come in and block you from behind. Caitlan Clark don't even play no defense. If you watch, the girl ran right by her. Suzanne Silk at Rock Bottom Sports. And I don't want you to think I don't like this girl. I don't have anything against her. I have a lot against the fans that follow her because they are clueless about basketball, and have a lot against the NBA for the mistake that they made by making her the chosen one, and eventually you're going to lose that value on that dollar because she is not the chosen one. All right? Y'all have a blessed day.
Hits her. Boston ties it with the jumper. Timeout, Connecticut. Outstanding chemistry, Clark and Boston, and it's tied at 84.
And we cannot overstate how much that part of the Indiana game has improved since their first game of the season against the Connecticut Sun. Here, Fagbenle gets it. Caitlan Clark, the double team comes. Boston with the short roll. They talked about that so much today. In the first game of the season, Boston was rolling all the way to the basket. Caitlan Clark couldn't get it to her here. Short roll. Instead of taking it all the way in where she could get swallowed up, makes the great decision to hit the mid-range pull-up. Just really good improvement from this Indiana team.
And executed the 2-for-1 so that Indiana should get another possession here instead of Connecticut being able to just hold for a final shot. Connecticut out of timeouts. They do still have their reset, which would allow them to advance the basketball but not huddle. New to the WNBA this season. That's in the final 2 minutes of regulation or overtime. That's that little red dot you see on our scoreboard. That's the reset timeout. 10 ties, 10 lead changes. Clark out for offense, defense. Again, where does Connecticut go?
You look for some action with Alyssa Thomas, perhaps. Thomas and Ty Harris together. It's been very good.
Here is Thomas. Crowd on its feet. Thomas letting the clock wind. About a 5-second difference game in shot clock. High screen. Jones. Thomas through the lane, and a whistle is going to go against Indiana. Connecticut in the bonus, so free throws here for Connecticut and Ty Harris.
Looks like Indiana is going to challenge this. It's Fagbenle running over Ty Harris is the foul, is that right?
That's correct.
How many timeouts did Indiana have left?
That was one, and then this was their last timeout, and then they have the reset as well.
Yeah, because I don't know that they're going to win this challenge.
So if you're in the huddle now for Indiana, right, you're also using this time to draw up your play once you advance it with a reset?
We have a timeout call. The previous
because
call
you can't huddle.
is being challenged by Indiana.
There's a higher angle they were looking for. Ooh, is Harris sliding up into her from that angle?
After review, the call has been confirmed. Indiana will lose their timeout and also lose their challenge. 2 shots for Connecticut.
All right, so the call is not only upheld, it is confirmed according to Randy Richardson. So there was evidence that made them feel confident not only to not overturn the call, but that the initial call was the correct one. And if you're Indiana, did you use that time to draw up a play? Well, how do you not have Caitlan Clark on the floor here? Oh. You cannot sub on a reset timeout. Ty Harris at the line. Clark on the bench. You got to put her back in the game now. Check that. We are now being told you can sub on a reset timeout. So here comes Clark. We were told 2 different things in the span of 20 seconds. Our apologies. Clark subs back in on the reset. Remember, Indiana cannot huddle, though, on the reset. (86-84). Connecticut in front after both free throws go down. 11.3 to go. Indiana without timeouts. They use their reset to advance the basketball. Clark gets it into Boston. Boston turns the corner. Boston through the lane. Missed the layup. Thomas the rebound. And she is fouled with 5.1 to go.
Really well designed play, though. The fake handoff, you know both defenders are going to go with Caitlan Clark, and then Aaliyah Boston going to her strong side. This is a terrific play. She gets a good look at the basket, just can't get it to fall. And after she misses, Caitlan Clark just looks at her. It's okay, does this with her hands. And now AT at the free throw line.
She's 6 for 10 from the line tonight. Hits the first to make it a 3-point game. This obviously the crucial one to make it a 2-possession game. Indiana out of timeouts. Thomas makes them both. 4-point lead for Connecticut, and that should do it. Wallace hoists, and Indiana flirts with their first win, but Connecticut hangs on. 88-84 the final. Alyssa Thomas, 24 points, 13 rebounds, 9 assists. Clark with 17 points, 5 assists. And that'll do it in Indianapolis. Our WNBA coverage continues Saturday, June 1st at 12 Eastern on ESPN as Caitlan Clark and the Fever host Angel Reese in the Chicago Sky. For our producer, Ian Gruca, our director, Adam Bryant, Holly Rowe, the Hall of Famer, Rebecca Lobo, I'm Ryan Rucco. Thanks for watching. So long from Indy.